Good morning, children. Welcome to today's class. We are now going with the lesson Inside Our Earth. In our previous class, we came to know about different layers of the earth. Before starting the topic of the day, let's quickly recap the topics which we have learned in our previous class. So why delay? Let's begin the class. Inside our earth. As you came to know, the earth, our homeland, is a dynamic planet. It is constantly undergoing changes inside and outside. Interior of the earth. Just like an onion, the earth is made up of several concentric layers with one inside another. Observe the picture. The earth has different layers which we can compare with that of an onion. Interior of the earth. As you came to know in the previous class, the earth is made up of several layers. They are crust, the outermost layer, mantle, the next layer beneath the crust, and finally the core, the innermost layer of the core. Now, what is crust? The uppermost layer over the Earth's surface is called the crust. Observe the picture. The outermost layer of the Earth itself is called crust, and it is the thinnest of all the three layers. Did you know? The crust forms only 0.5% of the volume of the Earth. 16% consists of the mantle and 83% makes the core. This crust is again divided into two types. One is the continental crust and the other is oceanic crust, as we came to know in our previous class. Crust is 35 kilometers on the continental masses and only 5 kilometers on the oceanic floor. Observe the picture here. This is only 5 kilometers on the oceanic floor, and this is 35 kilometers on the continental masses. The oceanic crust mainly consists of silica and magnesium. It is therefore called SiMa. Si stands for silica and Ms stands for magnesium. The main mineral constitutes of the continental mass are silica and alumina. It is thus called Sial. Si stands for silica and Al stands for alumina. So the oceanic crust consists of silica and the continental mass contains Sial, that is silica and alumina. The next layer, mantle. Just beneath the crust is the mantle, which extends up to a depth of 2,900 kilometers below the crust. So the depth of this layer is 2,900 kilometers. This is what the mantle is. Next, the core. The innermost layer of the earth is called core. The radius of the core is about 3,500 kilometers. It is mainly made up of two metals, that is nickel and iron, and thus it is called knife. Na stands for nickel and Fe stands for iron. The central core, this is what the central core, observe the picture, the solid inner core. The central core has very high temperature and pressure. The interesting facts about these layers. The deepest mine in the world is in South Africa. It is about 4 kilometers deep. In search for oil, engineers have dug a hole about 6 kilometers deep. You know, to reach to the center of the earth, which is not possible, you will have to dig a hole of around 6,000 kilometers deep on the oceanic floor. Now, let's begin the next topic of the day, that is rocks and minerals. The Earth's crust is made up of various types of rocks. You might have seen different kinds of rocks on the Earth's surface. Any natural masses of mineral matter that makes up Earth's crust is called a rock. I repeat, any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up the Earth's crust is called a rock. Rocks can be of different colors, sizes, and texture. Now, these rocks are of three types. They are igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, and metamorphic rocks. The word origin of these three types of rocks. The first one is igneous. The word igneous has been derived from a Latin word ignis, which means fire. Igneous is a Latin word, ignis, meaning fire. The next one is sedimentary rock. The word sedimentary is also derived from Latin word sedimentum, which means to settle down. Sedimentary is a Latin word, sedimentum, meaning settle down. And the final one is metamorphic rock. The word metamorphic is derived from a Greek word metamorphos, which means to change the form. Metamorphic, a Greek word metamorphos, meaning change of form. Now let's learn about these different types of rocks in detail, one after the other. So let's begin with the first type of rock, igneous rock. As we came to know, the word igneous has been derived from the Latin word ignis, meaning fire. These rocks are generally associated with volcanic eruptions, which will be very hot. When the molten magma cools, it becomes solid. Rocks thus formed are called igneous rocks. They are also called as primary rocks. These rocks were the first to be formed. That's why they are also known as primary rocks. I repeat, as I told you, the igneous rocks are associated with volcanic eruptions. When magma gets erupted, it cools down, and when it cools down, gets solidified. These rocks were the first to form and thus are also called primary rocks. The igneous rocks are of two types again. One is intrusive rocks, the other is extrusive rocks. Intrusive means inside the earth, extrusive means outside the earth. Let's try to understand this. First of all, let's begin with extrusive igneous rocks. The rocks that cool on the surface of the earth are called extrusive igneous rocks. These rocks are also known as volcanic rocks. Lava is actually fiery and molten magma coming out of the interior of the earth on its surface. When the lava comes out, we know that it will be very hot. When this molten lava comes out on the earth's surface, it rapidly cools down and becomes solid. When the lava comes out after the volcanic eruptions, the lava comes out, the molten magma comes out, and it cools and gets solidified. Rocks formed in such a way on the crust are called extrusive igneous rocks. They have a very fine grained structure. For example, basalt. Here you are able to see the picture of basalt rock, basalt igneous rock. The Deccan Plateau is made up of basalt rocks. Thus, the rocks that cools on the surface of the earth are called extrusive rocks. We'll now move to another type of rock, that is intrusive igneous rocks. The rocks that cool down below the surface of the earth are called intrusive igneous rocks. The rate of cooling is slow inside the earth. I repeat, sometimes the molten magma cools down deep inside the earth's crust. Solid rocks so formed are called intrusive igneous rocks. They are getting cool inside the earth itself. Since they cool down slowly because it is inside the earth, they form large grains. Granite is an example of such a rock. Grinding stones used to prepare paste or powder of spices and grains are made of granite stone. Observe the picture. Granite is an example of intrusive igneous rocks. You might have seen the grinders or the grinding stones made up of this rock at your home. Many of the kitchens even today have the grinders, which is used for making powder or paste, etc. Thus, the rocks that cool below the surface of the earth are called intrusive rocks, intrusive igneous rocks. Thus, igneous rocks are of two types. They are intrusive rocks and extrusive rocks. Intrusive igneous rocks are the rocks which cools down below the surface of the earth, and extrusive igneous rocks are the rocks which cool on the surface of the earth. Observe the picture carefully. Here is a picture given of a volcanic eruption. When the hot molten magma comes out of the earth's surface, gets solidified here above the surface of the earth, on the surface of the earth, and thus it forms extrusive igneous rocks, the rocks which formed on the surface of the earth. Extrusive igneous rocks cool quickly, and as a result, these rocks are fine-grained or has lack of crystal growth. And the next type is intrusive rocks. The molten magma gets solidified after getting cool inside the earth itself. The rocks which are formed inside the earth called as intrusive igneous rocks. These rocks are formed from magma that cools slowly, and as a result, these rocks are coarse-grained. Igneous rocks have the following characteristics. These rocks are hard and compact. These rocks do not occur in distinct beds or strata, that is the layers of the rock, earth. These rocks do not have remains of animals or plants because they are very hard and compact. These rocks do not allow water to percolate through them. Other types of rocks are formed from igneous rocks. The help of igneous rocks, it gives rise to other forms of rocks too. Valuable minerals such as iron, gold, silver, and aluminium are found in these rocks. We'll now move to the next type of rock, that is sediments or sedimentary rock. Rain, wind, ice, plants, and animals sometimes breaks the rock into small fragments. These rock fragments are carried away by the running water or wind and ice and are deposited in depressions. I repeat, rocks roll down, crack, and hit each other and are broken into small fragments, that is pieces. These smaller particles are called sediments. These sediments, after getting break, are transported and deposited by wind, water, ice, etc. in the depressions. These loose sediments are compressed and hardened to form layers of rocks. These types of rocks are called sedimentary rock, which have many layers in it. For example, sandstone is made from the grains of sand. These rocks may also contain fossils of plants, animals, and other microorganisms that once lived on them. The loose sediments, which are compressed and hardened to form the layers of rock, is called sedimentary rock. It can be formed either mechanically, for example sandstone, or chemically, example salt, or organically, the example is coal. Out of all types of rocks, the sedimentary rocks are the most widespread, which cover around 75% of the total land area of the earth. Now, as we came to know about the characteristics of igneous rock, in the same way, we have certain characteristics of sedimentary rocks too. They are, these rocks are softer than igneous rock. Sedimentary rocks are softer than that of igneous rocks, which are much harder. These rocks have horizontal layers arranged one above the other. These rocks are mostly formed underwater, and as they are formed underwater, these rocks have marks of waves and mud cracks. These rocks also contain remains of animals and plants called fossils between the layers. The rock which contains fossils are sedimentary rocks. The important examples of the sedimentary rock are sandstone, limestone, and coal. We'll now move to the last type of rock, that is metamorphic rock. The metamorphic rocks are actually igneous or sedimentary rocks which have been changed due to the excessive heat and pressure inside the earth. Sometimes the heat and pressure inside the earth will increase immensely, because of which the igneous or sedimentary rocks which are there at that part of the earth will change and give rise to a new type of rock called as metamorphic rock. This excessive heat and pressure which is caused inside the earth will change the original qualities, original properties of rocks, such as their color, hardness, texture, and mineral composition. Because of this extensive more heat and pressure, the rocks will change their qualities like color, hardness, texture, or mineral composition. Such changed type of rocks, because of excessive heat and pressure inside the earth, are called metamorphic rocks. Children, keep in mind, this act may take hundreds of years of time. It's not the process of a day or two or a decade or two. It takes hundreds and hundreds of years of time for the process to carry on. The nature is doing its work continuously. In due course of time, limestone can change into marble, shale into slate, and sandstone into quartzite. Dear children, gems can be found in these rocks itself. Now, the characteristics of metamorphic rocks. These rocks, after changes, remain in their original position. No more changes can be made, or no other type of rock can be made after forming the metamorphic rocks. They are very hard and have very high specific gravity. These rocks do not have empty spaces in them. These rocks do not have any empty spaces in them. Let me reiterate once again the three types of rocks. Different types of rocks are formed in different ways. We came to know there are three types of rocks. They are igneous rocks, sedimentary rock, and metamorphic rock. The first one, igneous rock. The word igneous has been derived from the Latin word ignis, meaning fire. Igneous rocks are the rocks which are associated with volcanic eruptions. These are the rocks which are formed when magma cools down and then solidifies. Out of all types of rocks, these rocks were the first to be formed. That's why they are also called as primary rocks. These igneous rocks again are of two types. They are intrusive igneous rock and extrusive igneous rocks. The rocks that cool down below the surface of the earth are called intrusive igneous rocks. And the rocks that cool down on the surface of the earth are called extrusive igneous rocks. And these rocks are very hard and compact and do not have any remains of animals or plants, that is fossils. This is a rock where we find valuable minerals such as iron, gold, silver, aluminium, etc. With the help of these rocks, other types of rocks are also formed. The next one, sedimentary rock. Rain, wind, ice, plants and animals, etc. break the rocks into small fragments which are carried by water, wind and ice, etc. and are deposited in the depressions. The deposited materials are called sediments. Later, these loose sediments which got deposited are compressed and hardened to form layers of rocks. And thus, the rocks which are formed with several types of layers in it, are called sedimentary rocks. They are formed either mechanically, the example is sandstone, chemically, the example is salt, and organically, the example is coal. These rocks are softer than igneous rocks and have only horizontal layers arranged one above the other. These rocks are mostly found underwater and thus have the marks of waves and mud cracks. These are the rocks which contain fossils. And finally, metamorphic rocks. The rocks that are actually made from igneous or sedimentary rocks which have been changed due to excessive heat and pressure inside the earth. Sometimes the excessive heat and pressure can change the original properties of rocks such as their color, hardness, texture and mineral composition. Such changed types of rocks are called metamorphic rocks. These are the rocks after changes remain in their original position and are very hard and have a high specific gravity. And these rocks do not have any empty spaces in them. Important fact. Observe the picture. Igneous and sedimentary rocks can change into metamorphic rocks under great heat and pressure. As I told you, clay changes into slate and limestone into marble. Now, what are the uses of these rocks? The hard rocks are used for making roads, houses and buildings, etc. Minerals like coal and petroleum provide the sources of power. Rocks are used in making monuments. For example, Red Fort, which is made up of red sandstone, and Taj Mahal, which is made up of white marble. Rocks in the ancient times were used to make tools and weapons. Soil is formed from rocks. We shall now move to our next topic, rock cycle. What is rock cycle? The process of transformation of the rock from one to another under certain conditions in a cyclic manner is known as the rock cycle. I repeat, the change of one type of rock into another type under certain conditions in a cyclic manner is known as the rock cycle. And this rock cycle has neither a beginning nor an end. Keep in mind, children, in this process, the matter of the Earth's crust is not lost. So let's now try to understand how this rock cycle operates. Process of rock cycle. We came to know that igneous rocks are made with the help of volcanic eruptions. They are associated with volcanic eruptions. Observe the picture here. This is magma. When this molten magma cools, it solidifies to become a type of rock that is igneous rock. This is igneous rock. These igneous rocks are broken into smaller particles by wind, rain, plants, animals, etc. and are transported and deposited in the depressions to form another type of rock that is sedimentary rock. When this igneous rock break into small fragments, they form sediments. Observe the picture. These are the sediments. Later, these sediments are hardened and compressed to form another type of rock that is sedimentary rock. This is the second type of rock. Well, the igneous and sedimentary rock, now we have two types of rocks here, igneous and sedimentary rock. When the igneous and sedimentary rocks are subjected to excessive heat and pressure, they give rise to another type of rock that is metamorphic rock. I repeat, the molten magma cools down, solidifies and forms igneous rock. This igneous rock is broken into smaller fragments by the natural process and forms into sediments where these sediments get compressed and hardened to form another type of rock that is sedimentary rock. The sedimentary and igneous rocks, due to excessive heat and pressure, will give rise to another type of rock that is metamorphic rock. We came to know during the process of metamorphosis, the rocks will change their original properties like color, texture, mineral composition, etc. The metamorphic rocks, which are still under great heat and pressure, once again will melt and form into magma. This molten magma again can cool down get solidified and thus form into igneous rock. This cycle has neither a beginning nor an end. So this is the process of rock cycle. Volcanic eruption, magma comes out, forms into igneous rock. This igneous rock is broken into smaller fragments by air, water, ice, plants and animals, etc., which forms into smaller sediments. These sediments are transported and deposited in the depressions where, after getting hardened and compressed, form a new type of rock, that is sedimentary rock. This igneous and sedimentary rock, due to high pressure and heat temperature inside the earth, will give rise to another type of rock, that is metamorphic rock. This metamorphic rock, which are still under great heat and pressure, will once again melt down and forms into magma. This magma, because of volcanic eruption, comes up and forms into igneous rock. When the magma comes and solidified on the surface of the earth, is called as extrusive rock, and when it is solidifies and cooled down inside the earth, is called as intrusive rock. In today's class, we came to know that the rocks are made up of different minerals. Minerals are naturally occurring substances which have certain physical properties and definite chemical composition. Rocks are of three types: igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, and metamorphic rocks. Rock cycle is the process wherein the change of one type of rock into another under certain conditions in a cyclic manner is the process of the rock cycle, which has neither a beginning nor an end. Minerals are very important to humankind. Some are used as fuels. For example, coal, natural gas, and petroleum. They are also used in industries. Iron, aluminium, gold, uranium, etc. Used in medicine and used in fertilizers, etc. Hope you have understood the lesson. Thank you, children. We'll meet in the next class.